Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this second dialogue on markets of the future post-harvest for post-harvest commodities. The first dialogue was held a little over a month ago, where we had a wide range of panelists from the regulator, SEBI, uh, to value chain players. We are following up based on the key points that emerged from that, and this is the second in series. This is going to be split in two parts. What we will have today is a dialogue on the markets, especially, and the next one, which will follow in a couple of weeks, will be on access to finance. Uh, the objective of this dialogue series is to identify opportunities that could potentially be piloted using the regulatory sandbox that has been created by SEBI a few months ago, and also see how some of this could dovetail into the new acts that have been passed by the parliament relating to agriculture markets and enabling access to markets by farmers and farm-based institutions. So we have a eclectic panel. I'm sure you've all seen the details of the panelists. They represent the exchange, they represent the regulator, uh, the quality assurance and traceability technology startups, and also market players who've got their own online marketplaces. The moderator today is Sanjay Kaul. Sanjay, former bureaucrat, food secretary, and last several years now is now the chairman of NCML. And today he's here as in a moderator capacity. Welcome, Sanjay, and thanks for coming back on the panel. Last time you were a panelist, and thank you for joining in as a moderator today. I will hand over to Sanjay. The format that we will follow is we will have Sanjay moderating with a few theme areas that have already been shared with the panelists, and we will leave maybe 10-15 minutes in the end for a round of Q&A. I'm sure several of the questions will get discussed during the panel discussions. So if there's any burning issue, that can also be taken up in the end. And we will hope to wrap up in time, or maybe few minutes thereafter. Yeah. Over to you, Sanjay. Good luck.
Thank you, Raman. Good afternoon and welcome to all of you, and a special welcome to all the distinguished panelists. As Raman has pointed out, the panelists represent a lot of range of market participants. Uh, but I think one common thing which binds them all, including the regulator, is the digital technology space. And therefore, the context of this webinar are really two broad contexts. One is the new farm bills which have been introduced and become law now. And the second is the emergence of various forms of digital marketplaces, uh, with all of them are trying to deepen and widen access to markets. So the two specific uh, uh, things in the farm law which I would like to point out. One is, which links to the derivatives market, is a contract act, because hitherto a forward bilateral contract was seen as something which was sporadic. Now it is there's an underpinning of a central law, and a forward kind of contract obviously has linkages with the futures market. So that is one straight away linkage that I see. The second is that we are seeing a lot of innovation in this space. And how can these innovations uh, take advantage of the freeing of markets through the revolutionary APMC, uh, well, I wouldn't say abandonment of the APMC marketplaces, but giving opportunities to digital spaces to widen their spread. So the one objective which I think I would like to complement and supplement Raman is also for getting people interested in this area, including market participants, together. And one objective of this webinar in that sense has already been achieved. We have got together 8 of our panelists representing different areas of the agriculture marketplace. We have got our audience, who a lot of them are interested in the space. And I think the objective, from what I can make out from Dwara Trust and think at is to take this dialogue and find how collaborations and networks can create a win-win situation for all. So without spending much more time, we will start this seminar or a webinar with an initial presentation of the key themes and the context by Tarun Katoj or Dwara Trust. So over to you, Tarun.
Thank you, sir. So, good afternoon, everyone. Tarun Desai from Dwara Trust, Dwara e-Registry, and I represent Value Chain Team. So, in Value Chain Team, we provide digital solutions to FPO and farmers. So, I'll be giving a brief presentation, just setting a context of this webinar, and then going forward, our expert panelists can take it forward. So, I will be covering the access to market. So what is the size of this market? What are the various platforms through which we can sell the produce? What is the pro and cons of each of it? And then finally, what could be the way forward to bridge the gap? So in context of Indian production, so last crop year, we have seen food grain production was around 300 million tons and horticulture crop production was around 320 million tons. So we have seen in last 9 years, the horticulture crop production has overstripped our food production. That gives at national level that we can't miss a view that we need to properly plan for marketing of horticulture crops as well. If we see the marketable surplus in food grains, it is increasing year by year, and now it's more than 70%. Marketable surplus defines like what is the commercial aspects of the agriculture. So total production minus what the farmer is keeping for his domestic production minus seeds is the marketable surplus. So to liquidate that market surplus, we see there are around 9,000 markets, mandis in India that is regulated by the government agencies. If we see in last 50 years, various national committees have recommended that at least we should have 30,000 mandis across our country, so that at least within the radius of 5 kilometers, we have one mandi. But with 9,000 as a number, we have one mandi across 12-kilometer radius. Now, if we see the ENAM, it's like a government initiative to unify all the mandis across the country and then have a one platform where anyone can buy a product from anywhere. So they have connected now more than 1,000 APMCs across 18 states and 3 union territories. And the loss that is happening that the farmer is not able to sell can be reduced. The majority of this loss is for the perishables commodities. If we see what are the options available for the farmers to sell their produce. First one is APMC, including ENAM. APMC is normal market yard that we see in our country. So the benefits of this is that all qualities can be traded. If the farmer is having even a small quantity, they can trade that. Payment is received by the end of the day, and the agent through which the farmer is selling their produce, they have a good relation with them. And if in any season they want money to buy input products or anything, they can directly approach these RTR's agent and then they take money from them. So it's a very human touch that is there, and then the farmers maximum use this platform to sell their produce. But the limitation is that there are different, as I said, there are 9,000 APMC market across our country. So the number of buyers are very much distributed. So when there are less number of buyers in a particular market, then price discovery may not be that good. Second comes MSP procurement by the government. So government announces the MSP on which the farmer can sell their produce to the government, but generally until unless there is a kind of a bad crop or some kind of a special issue, usually MSP is kind of a highest farmer can get. But on the limitation side, if you see, not all the commodities are listed as per MSP list. So, and all the commodities are not procured by the government. It's a handful of farmers, small percentage, that take benefit of MSP procurement. And majorly it is medium to large farmers, because MSP have their own schedule when the government procures for the farmers. So small farmers, marginal farmers can't wait till that time to sell their produce. So as it is harvested, the small farmers sell their produce. So it's very limited reach, we can say. And also at times there are delays in the payment that the farmer gets after the procurement. Then third comes the e-spot market. So e-spot market like NEML, AgriBazaar, NCML promoted market. So these are e-spot market that provides a kind of a OTC platform, but it's kind of a regulated trade. Both there is a counterparty risk management is done by the market players. So all the quantities can be traded through this platform. Number of buyers are more, and there are chances that there is better price discovery. But on the limitation side, we see there is a the proper information is must for the quality parameters, because there are high chance if the quality parameter is not matching, there will be a rejection and there will be a penalty imposed. So proper knowledge of delivery operations and quality parameter is a must. Trading lot is another issue that usually it's in 10 tons, 20 tons on a side. So for a farmer who is a small and medium, for them it may be a higher lot. Then for our documentation process, it may be a tedious process for FPOs. And then at times, these platforms are not able to provide liquidity across the locations. So there is frequent liquidity constraint depending upon the location they are operating in. Then fourth one is exchange traded forward market. So in 2016, around that, there was a forward platform that was launched under FMC. That was a kind of a platform which mimicked the physical markets in the best way. So it was a OTC platform which has flexibility of delivery mechanisms. Any quantity can be traded. Pricing mechanism could be fixed price or a reference price, and all the clearing settlement was done by exchange. So the counterparty risk was covered by exchange. And it was very good platform, and it led to very good price discovery as a number of buyers and sellers was quite good. But on the limitation side, after the SEBI and FMC merger, it got suspended. So currently it is not available for the trading. Then comes futures market. It's another market which has gained a lot of traction since its launch in 2004. So there are a large number of buyers that are present on this platform. And because of this high liquidity, price discovery is better. The farmer or any FPO can sell any month to lock in their prices and they give the delivery. And it's an important platform for hedging their prices. But on the con side, if we see, just like any regulated platform, proper information on quality parameters and delivery operations is needed. Otherwise, this will lead to default in the trade. Delivery lots are again higher in size, and then documentation process. Another important thing is they need credit or a finance to cover their margins and M2M. So whenever you take a positions, you need margins, and with the daily price fluctuation, you need M2M to cover up your position. So this is something that farmer or FPO may find difficult to cover up. And then if you are not depositing the goods in the warehouse and just hedging your positions to cover your price risk, then there is a risk of basis. So that's maybe because of your location you are based at and you are trading, and maybe the variety that you grow, and the different variety may be listed on the futures platform. And then comes the sixth, which is finally is like options. So it is an important part. Futures help us in fixing the prices. Now, whether market goes up or down, the prices is fixed. But the best part of the option is that you are able to hedge your price, and you are open. If the prices goes in your favor, you can forego your premium, and then you can utilize the price movement that has gone your way. So it's a very useful option that is available for the farmers. But on the con side, again, the proper knowledge how the options operate and how the final dissolution of option happens, so that needs to be properly known before anyone can enter into the option. And one of the important the limitation of the options is that in spite being launched for last 4 years, still the options are not that liquid. So way forward is like, if you see, there is no single platform which is fulfilling all the requirements and providing the holistic solution. So each platform has their own pro and cons, and as of now they are working in silos. So APMC is working differently. Futures market are separate, e-platforms are separate, and options are different. So somewhere going forward, if we need to provide a holistic solution, so there should be a platform where farmer and FPO can see all the prices. So if they want to take a decision where I should sell my crop, they should have an option where I can compare the prices of all the APMC markets. I can compare future prices. I can compare the prices which is offered by a spot platform. So if in a one screen, if these prices are available and it will be very easy for any farmer group or a farmer to take a decision where he should sell his crop and when to sell. But how it will done is something that we need to discuss upon. Second is common clearing platform, so settlement platform. So what is happening? There are clearing settlement platform for futures exchange and So what is happening in physical market? We are trading with the known participants because there is no risk of a counterparty defaults. But if there is a common clearing platform, even in the spot market, if anyone comes and they can trade without a risk of a counterparty, then that will bring in the more liquidity and that will lead to a better price discovery. So with the now e-spot platforms coming up, it's a kind of leading to proper clearing and settlement. So if we can have a wider platform that can even settle other trades, so that will give a comfort to entire value chain. Then again, this platform of clearing and settlement will help in addressing the issues like quality parameters. The trading lot can be reduced, deliveries can be settled in the time, and if there is any issue, proper redressal mechanism will be there. And all these things will lead to better liquidity, and farmer can sell their produce anytime, and then in a better way with a efficient price discovery. And last important thing is, somewhere we see that the exchange traded forward platform mimics the trade that is happening in the physical market. So if going forward, exchange traded forward platform is again relaunched, that will definitely help in better agri commodity trading. That's from my side. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Tarun. And I think that sets the ball rolling for the panelists in that background. So I would like to begin now with Amit Mundawala. And I am requesting him to start the discussion, both because he is the co-founder of two institutions. One is a spot market institution, which is the Agri Bazaar. And before that, he was continues to be a director and a co-founder of Star Agri, which has the physical linkage to the derivatives market. So over to you, Amit, and while you tell us about the initiatives that you have taken in Agri Bazaar, we'd also like to hear from you how the physical market can be linked to the derivatives market, not just for price discovery, but also how the SEBI can play a role in development and regulation of both the markets seamlessly. Because right now, there is no real regulator of the cash market. So over to you, Amit.
Thank you, sir. So first, I'll just slightly introduce on Agri Bazaar. Like, so we are a...
So only one request to all the panelists. Sorry, Amit. We have about 1 hour for the panelists for discussion, because we'd like a second round of comments and feedback on what the other panelists have said, and we need time for a second round. Secondarily, we do require at least 10 minutes for any audience member to raise questions and query. So request each of you to restrict your initial comments to about 5 to 7 minutes.
Yeah. So thank you. So Agri Bazaar, we are a online marketplace. So where we integrate all the services, starting from the sowing till the commodities being disposed. So primarily, as of now, we are majority into buying and selling of agri commodities, where we are serving farmers, traders, processors, and government institutions to procure and dispose their agri commodities per se. So we are doing both horticulture as well as non-perishables commodity. So we started in 2016 until now. So more than 3 lakh farmers are being served with 100 FPOs, and then around 30,000 plus traders are registered on our platform. And we are working across India, like more than 18 states we have our operations, and we have done around 30 lakh ton of commodities as of now. So that is the size which we are doing. And then particularly I wish to emphasize, the moment there is a scalability, the moment we are trying to drive liquidity on the platform, so the technology has to be very robust. So it has to be integrated. So if you'll compare with the existing market APMCs, so the services which any buyer and seller is getting from the mandis has to be there apple to apple on the platform. Unless until you drive all the services over there, that liquidity won't happen. So that is primarily the major part is assaying. So where we are integrating laboratories across the catchment area where we have the operations, and then the transporters and fleet owners, so where we are registering them, and then the moment transition happens, so then the buyer have the facility to choose the transporter, or there is a bid happening on the transport side, what like transport cost you are going to bear, or there has to be some facility who can do the transportation part. And then the after sale there is a requirement of finance, particularly the bill discounting one, so where you are opening the NBFCs and banks, particularly based on the ratings of your buyers, so they can give you the bill discounting part. And then so mandi to mandi or the area to area, you have to identify the handling partners and all. So seamlessly for doing a transition, standalone auction engine or payment settlement won't work. It is the combination of all the services put together which will enable the liquidity. So this is the main challenge with the market prices, so where the seamless technologies has to emerge. And the moment you create more large ecosystem, including the warehousing companies and all these back-end service providers, so they collaborate, join together, then it holistic, it will create a roadmap, and then you will find a liquidity on the platform. So that is the main part. And then eventually all these facilities put together, there is a huge opportunity of creating the collection center in the village level, which post ordinance is the recent act of the farm agri bill which have been introduced by Government of India, so which we like welcome. It's a really wonderful job being done by the government, and we thanks to them a lot. So particularly portals like us, we were allowed by getting a license from every state government individually. So e-market license you have to take, and then obviously the buyer also need to have a license where they are procuring the commodity from which state. So all these hindrances are out now. So after 5th of June, so there is a free flow. So buyers and sellers, they both are free to buy and sell anywhere across India, and there is no licensing. So just buyers should have a PAN card. So that is a mandate. So how easy they have created. So it is a very free flow, and now these existing APMCs has to be very competitive. Rather, there is a huge space. So when there is no restriction to come inside mandi, so now if I am a farmer or if I am a trader, so there has to be opportunity. I have to think if I want to go inside the mandi, or I have the options of procuring outside the mandi. So there will be a tough competition. There will be a value addition, particularly outside and inside both. So for that sake, obviously outside markets, there has to be huge investment coming down in the rural sector, where near to farmgate there will be collection centers. So the development of centers which will enable this liquidity will happen like that way. So regarding the scene where we are acting as a warehousing company, so initially in the phase 1, so what we attempted is all of our warehouses we like created them as a delivery center. So eventually, since we are also one of the largest service provider for NCDX, which is the largest commodity future delivery exchange in India, so there is a very good attraction to particularly farmer and traders both, where if they are depositing the commodity in the warehouse, and if we are facilitating the sale, or there is a arbitrage or hedging which has been facilitated. So if SEBI intervenes into that angle, so there is a very huge niche market that can be created. There are thousands of warehouses across India, and if all these warehouses are being turned up as a market or a delivery center, so where commodities are only lying down, so the depositor have the facility, the ready commodity they can showcase on portals like AgriBazaar or Market Yard or an email. So there will be a huge opportunity. And then there is a requirement of a regulator. So the regarding the counterparty risk or quality, quantity. So these all are things if SEBI can control. So that is the main subject where things. The moment there is a clarity, the moment somebody owns it, so the onus is there, and then so we feel there will be a huge requirement or huge liquidity can be generated in the system. Thank you.
थैंक यू अमित। तो हम लोगों का उद्देश्य तो यही है, कॉमन उद्देश्य ये है कि किसानों को कैसे सुविधाएं मिलें और कैसे उनका मार्केट एक्सेस बढ़े। तो मुझे खुशी है कि हमारे साथ आज ज्ञानेश्वर हेगड़े जी हैं, जो परिवर्तन संस्था के को फाउंडर हैं, और उनका अनुभव क्या रहा है, क्या कठिनाई और बाधाएं से वो जूझ रहे हैं, क्या अनुभव रहा है, और क्या सुविधाएं वो चाह रहे हैं ये मार्केट प्लेसेस से और रेगुलेटर से, क्या उनकी आवश्यकताएं हैं, इनके बारे में मैं आमंत्रण करूंगा ध्यानेश्वर हेगड़े जी को कि कुछ अपने सुझाव और क्या अनुभव रहा है उसके बारे में हमें कुछ बताएं। हेगड़े जी, तो आप अपना थोड़ा परिचय भी दें। ध्यानेश्वर जी, आपका माइक म्यूट पर है। Janushan, can you hear us? If so, I think Dhaneshwar is having some difficulty in linking up. I request somebody in ThinkTank or Dwara to help him out. In the meanwhile, can I request another person who's available in the market space and trying to provide a one-stop solution, which is Dehat. So I request Sashant Kumar of Dehat to help us understand the kind of issues that FPOs and farmers face in accessing these digital markets, and how you feel institutions like Dehat can provide these kind of one-stop solutions which you are now offering to the place. What are the other kind of facilities that you feel are required for these markets to really develop? And finally, what kind of collaboration opportunities exist with these digital marketplaces? So over to you, Sashank.
Sure. So thanks a lot for the invitation. A quick brief of Dehat that it's a one-stop solution for farmers, which provides complete end-to-end services, right from which crop to grow, how to grow, to where to sell. So as a model, as a platform, we cover the entire value chain, and we are trying to bring everything related to agriculture under one roof for farmers. Considering in India, most of the farmers are small. So we have seen that in case of small farmers, in case of Indian farmers, their ticket size of transaction is very small, whether it's import, output, or whatever. So that's why not just we are trying to bundle the various agri value chain services, but at the same time we are trying to make this bundle available close to their farm gate. So as on date, Dehat has been providing services like agri input, customized advisory, financial services, and of course, at the end of season, all these efforts and touch points and services boil down to an efficient market linkage. Present in eastern part of India, somewhere close to 340,000 farmers are active with us. They are directly associated. So means on day-to-day basis, they are buying some seed, fertilizer, pesticides, or they are selling their crops, whether it's staples or horticulture, or if they're raising their advisory related queries. These farmers are being served by our own kind of an exclusive last mile network. So as on date, 1,033 Dehat centers are operational in states like Bihar, UP, Jharkhand, and Odisha, where these centers are acting as a fulfillment center for agricultural input, at the same time collection center for agri output. So that's a quick brief of Dehat, and we are just trying to aggregate more and more Indian farmers and connecting those Indian farmers to different agri businesses, whether it's related to input, advisory, or financing, or whatever. So that's a quick brief. Coming to the subject of the house today, we have a very strong philosophy that that efficient market linkage has a very strong prerequisite of backward integration. So unless and until you don't have visibility in the back end that what exactly has happened during the season at the farm, the efficient market linkage cannot be established. And that's the reason why we have a very strong focus on the full stack, right? So why we remain with the farmer, right, from which crop or which variety they are growing, during the season, what sort of pest or disease attack they have experienced. And then at the end of season, it comes about aggregation, where as on date, we are aggregating close to 500 metric ton every day, be it staples like corn, wheat, or paddy, or horticulture crops. So that I think that is one thing, and that's the first point to your question, Sanjay sir. That when we are talking about forward linkages, it has to be integrated with the backend. in terms of, and that's where the digital or the data can play the role, right? So each and every stakeholder, they always appreciate the importance of data and information, whether it's related for trade or it's related for speculation or it's related for any other value addition activity. So I think that's where all new age companies, startups, or let's say all platforms, they need to collaborate so that more and more information can be shared, so that different people can bring their own respective core competencies, whether it's warehousing or exchange or financing or assaying for that matter. The second point is that what I said earlier, that most of the farmers are small, and considering I'm coming from our experience of working with farmers in eastern part of India, where you have very limited number of crops listed on exchange, where you have very limited number of delivery centers as well, where farmers have been largely dependent upon the physical market. And irrespective of the type of market, I think we have seen that that farmers need handholding. Okay, so not just during the season, right? During the season, of course, that's series of events, but even once harvesting is done, just information exchange, it does not work. केवल अगर हम उन्हें ये बताएं कि आपका आलू शायद 400 किलोमीटर दूर के मार्केट में 5 रुपए किलो ज्यादा बिक सकता है, कई बार फार्मर्स के लिए थोड़ा और डिप्रेसिंग या डिस्करेजिंग हो जाता है, बिकॉज उन्हें पता है कि वो अपने 5, 6, 10 क्विंटल आलू को लेके 400 किलोमीटर दूर तो शायद नहीं जा सकते। या फिर अगर उन्हें ये बताएं कि शायद ये जो कंपनी है वो आपका मक्का खरीदने को तैयार है, लेकिन उस कंपनी की जो क्वालिटी पैरामीटर है वो 12% मॉइस्चर है, तो फार्मर्स के लिए बड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है कि वो अपने ही द्वारा उपजाए गए उत्पाद को कैसे वो डिस्कार्ड करे, कैसे वो ग्रेड करे, कैसे वो छांटे, और बाकी छटे हुए माल को कहाँ लेके जाएगा, बिकॉज मंडी में तो सब कुछ बिक जा रहा है। तो दैट्स व्हाट आई मेंट कि हैंड होल्डिंग इज वेरी मच नीडेड व्हाइल वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कनेक्टिंग फार्मर्स टू बेटर मार्केट्स। And here handholding means not just information exchange, sir, but it's also about the fulfillment. Information exchange भी हो जरूर through digital interfaces, but थोड़ा handholding हो, considering कि वो छोटे farmers हैं, उनकी उपज छोटी है और different markets की अपनी requirement है. And I think that's where again, I mean, like people like us, can play the role. Like few of us can play role in assaying. Few of us have been already playing in role of around warehousing and of course exchange or financing. So that's the second point, which is information exchange along with fulfillment. And last not the least, of course, agri is a pretty wide subject. It's a long chain. So collaboration around data and digital interfaces, that's very much needed. We are talking about creating an alternative channel of mandi. Again, it's nothing like that mandi is not efficient, but conventional channel में भी सर मंडियां आपस में इंटरकनेक्टेड रहती है। कन्वेंशनल चैनल में भी वो आड़त जिसके पास पीछे की इंफॉर्मेशन है कि मिर्ची कितनी एरिया में उगी है, कब हार्वेस्टिंग है, कब उसकी सोइंग हुई थी, क्रॉप स्टेटस क्या है, उसके कारण से वो आड़त एक डिफरेंशिएटेड आड़त होता है और वो दूसरी मंडियों के आड़त से कनेक्टेड रहता है इन देयर ओन वे। I think similar kind of thing again, I mean, let's say we'll have to think as well. Again, if you are trying to create an alternative channel with an intention of adding more and more people, bringing more competition for the benefits of farmer, and I think which is not possible around data and technology. Of course, I mean, जो individuals होते हैं, they have their own set of long individual years of experience which is not available for anyone. I think that's where people like us can differentiate. So collaboration through data, through digital interfaces, so that people can add their respective core competency. Last not the least, to suggestion, considering the latest bill and ordinances, I think sir, the exchange, if you are specifically talking about forward trade and options, more crops to be added. As on date, आज भी सारे crops तो exchange पे सर added नहीं है। अगर crops हैं भी तो उनकी varieties defined है। For example, mustard in Rajasthan might be listed, but mustard in UP and Bihar is not listed for that. So more and more crops या varieties का add होना जरूरी है और delivery centers को सर थोड़ा farm gate के पास लेके जाने चाहिए। तो मे बी exchange कोई pre-identified assayers define करे, उनका fixed commission करे। Farmers पे सर छोड़ेंगे तो exchange के through physical trade कहाँ सर होता है? सभी को पता है सर, largely speculations है। ये कितने farmers हैं जो exchange में participate कर पाते हैं या FPOs for that matter? So I think that's all from my side.
So thank you, Shashank. I think आपने कुछ practical सुझाव भी दिए हैं and कुछ दिशा भी दिखाई है कि क्या संभव है। ध्यानेश्वर जी, if you could unmute yourself, आपकी शक्ल, हाँ आपकी, तो ध्यानेश्वर जी परिवर्तन के बारे में आप कुछ बताएं, आपका क्या अनुभव रहा है, क्या बाधाएं हैं और आपके क्या सुझाव है, आपकी क्या उम्मीदें हैं ये डिजिटल मार्केट प्लेसेस से आपकी उम्मीदें सरकार से और नीतियों में और क्या बदलाव आना चाहिए कि आपके जो किसान हैं जो जुड़े हुए हैं आपके साथ वो मार्केट एक्सेस
सर
परिवर्तन का भी आप कुछ बड़ा परिचय दें।
हाँ, मेरा नाम ज्ञानेश्वर ढिगले सर। हमारी कंपनी का नाम सर परिवर्तन ऑर्गेनिक फार्मर्स प्रोड्यूसर कंपनी है। ये कंपनी हमने वाशिम डिस्ट्रिक्ट में महाराष्ट्र में रजिस्टर किया है सन 2016 में 30 जून को। तो सर पहले तो हमको कुछ पता नहीं था कंपनी के बारे में, लेकिन हम जैसे जुड़ते गए किसान हमसे जुड़ने लगे। पहले 50 किसान ही हम साथ में थे, लेकिन हमको मालूम नहीं था हमारे इधर मेजर जो क्रॉप होती है सोयाबीन होता है, चना होता है, तूर होती है। जब हमकी फसल आती थी तो हमको पता नहीं था कि कैसा इसका ग्रेडिंग करना है, और इसको बड़ी क्वांटिटी में होती थी। मेरे पास 350 किसान है, और 350 का किसान का जो माल है हम कहाँ बेचे? ये तो मेरे पहले तो हमको यही दिक्कत थी कि ये इतना बड़ा बायर कहाँ से मिलेगा। लेकिन हमको 2017 में इंसीडेंट का प्लेटफॉर्म मिला, और हमने इंसीडेंट के प्लेटफॉर्म से हमारा रजिस्ट्रेशन किया, और फिर वहां से हमको चले। तो एक दिक्कत हमारी कम हो गई कि हमको दूसरे बायर ढूंढने की जरूरत ही नहीं गिरी, क्योंकि वो कितनी भी क्वांटिटी में वहां माल लगाओ तो वो लेने के लिए तैयार थी। दूसरी बात ये हो गई कि इंश्योरेंस का तो हमको भाव जो है हमको घर पर ही भाव मिलने लगा। तो इसका फायदा हमको ये हुआ कि हम मार्केट का भी अपडेट देखते रहे, भाव का हमको पहले से भाव मालूम देते रहा। तो ये फायदा हुआ हमारा कि मंडी से अच्छा भाव मिलने लगा। और दूसरा बात यह है कि हमको बायर मिला बड़ा सा। लेकिन हम आगे चल के, ये तो होगा सिर्फ सोयाबीन के इसमें, लेकिन बाकी भी कमोडिटी है, जैसा कि हमारे पास तूर रहती है, गेहूं रहता है, और खास करके वेजिटेबल जो फ्रूट और वेजिटेबल। अभी मेरे पास 50 एकड़ की पपई है सर, लेकिन क्या करें कि हमारे पास वैसा बायर नहीं है जो कि उसके वो इतनी क्वांटिटी में ले सके और हमको अच्छा सा भाव भी दे सके। हमारी समस्या यह है कि जैसा हम जो फ्रूट लगाते हैं या कोई वेजिटेबल्स लगाते हैं, तो वो क्या है था, वो नाशीवंत रहता है, थोड़े दिन टिकता है, ज्यादा दिन की उसकी आयु रहती नहीं। तो प्रॉब्लम ये होता है कि जब हम कोई भी वेजिटेबल का कोई लगाते हैं तो हमारे पास समस्या निर्माण होती है कि इसको हम कम से कम दिन में उसको जहां तक मार्केट में जाए, ये तो सबसे बड़ी समस्या है। लेकिन हमको पहले ही मालूम गिरे कोई ऐसा बायर मिले कि हमको 1 महीने बाद हमको आप पपैया दे या कुछ वेजिटेबल दे, तो हम उस तरह की तैयारी कर सके। तो हमको क्या है कि हमको सबसे पहले से तैयार निर्माण हुए एफपीओ की। एक तो समस्या है कि जब हम जब बोने का टाइम आता है तो हम खाद कहाँ से ले, पेस्टिसाइड कहाँ से ले, और बहुत बड़ी क्वांटिटी में लगता है। तो हम कंपेयर भी नहीं कर सकते कौन से कंपनी का लेना चाहिए, कौन से कंपनी का। कंटेंट तो सब सरीके रहते, लेकिन सबके अलग अलग भाव रहते। तो हमको ऐसा कोई प्लेटफॉर्म मिलना चाहिए कि जो कि कंटेंट भी एक है और उसका प्राइस भी सेम, उसको कंपेयर कर सके हम। तो हमको क्या होगा कि जो कोई पेस्टिसाइड है तो हम सस्ते में वो पेस्टिसाइड लेके हमारे इसका का छिड़काव कर सके। एक तो पहला बात। दूसरा यह है कि निकलने के बाद भी बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है कि जैसा मैंने आपको बताया है कि निकलने के बाद भी हमारा समस्या यह है कि जैसा सर ने बोला कि हमारे पास कभी कभी क्या होता है कि क्वांटिटी कम निकलती है, कभी कभी बहुत ज्यादा क्वांटिटी निकलती है, तो हमको भाव का हम कर नहीं सकते भाव। तो हमको पता भी नहीं चलता कि आगे चल के क्या भाव होगा। देखिए पहले महीने में देखा पपई का भाव 12,000 रुपए का था, अभी हमने 2 रुपए से पपई बिकना चालू किया क्योंकि कोई बायर आ रहा नहीं। तो ये समस्या हमारी है कि हमको बायर भी चाहिए और हमारा माल खातरी के जो खातरी वाला बायर है उसको जाना चाहिए और पैसे की दिक्कत ना है। ये सब समस्या हमारे पास है। तो कोई ऐसा कोई हमको एक प्लेटफॉर्म चाहिए हमको। बस इतना हमसे आपसे मदद मिली तो हम बहुत आगे कुछ बहुत और अच्छा काम कर सकते हैं।
So thank you, Dhyaneshwar ji. Ravindra Shavade, you were the pioneer in starting a digital marketplace. But to what extent has these marketplaces been able to meet the issues that groups like Parivartan are facing? Specifically, what are your suggestions, especially in the perishables? Because main problem is that unlike oilseeds or pulses or cereals which can be stored and you can wait, farmers can wait for a better day. Main problem that Dhyaneshwar ji is saying that commodity like agriculture crop like papaya, he has to find an immediate buyer and he has to find buyers to take the entire crop. So what are the options available and what is NEMAL trying to do in widening these markets? So over to you, Ravi.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it's good that uh, you have distinguished between perishables and non-perishables, because the kind of solutions which are possible are not probably the same for perishables and non-perishables. So let me talk about perishables first. जैसे अभी ज्ञानेश्वर जी ने बताया कि ये पपया अभी रेडी तैयार हो गया है और अभी हार्वेस्टिंग करना जरूरी है, नहीं तो सारा वेस्ट हो जाएगा. तो इसमें कुछ फॉरवर्ड ट्रेडिंग होना जरूरी है, बिकॉज फार्मर को या फार्मर प्रोड्यूसर कंपनी को पता है कि आप कभी इसकी आप कटाई करोगे. When will the fruits or the vegetables be ready? So we need to tie up the buyers beforehand. So the kind of the price discovery and buyer discovery that you need is different for perishables. Then of course because you need to uh, waste very little time in finding the buyer after you have harvested the vegetable or the fruit, right? So that's one very important aspect. Secondly, uh, there are of course some perishables where people store them near the production centers. जैसे potato is stored in cold storages in Agra, or apples we have seen are stored in the north. I think there is a need to promote cold storages near consumption centers with a proper cold chain. One of the reasons is that, especially in perishables, there are a lot of quality disputes. And the quality disputes can be reduced drastically if you have cold storages near consumption centers, because there a buyer, a wholesale buyer near the consumption center can inspect the goods, and there is very little scope for quality dispute over there. And I think government needs to promote this. Uh, having collection, cleaning, grading centers near production centers makes sense. Having proper packing, but medium or long-term storage needs to be near the consumption centers. I think that can change the perishables supply chain substantially. And of course, we do not have adequate reefer capacity, etc. So that's another weak area. And wherever there has been some connection established through digital marketplaces, and farmers have got good prices. I mean, we have experienced this in lychee, we have experienced this in strawberry, we have experienced this in quinoa. So there are many, commodities where we have seen what a digital marketplace and an efficient supply chain can do. So having talked about perishables, I would like to turn to non-perishables. And one of the key things uh, which has limited the futures market participation, not only by farmers, but FPOs and other agencies, is that the number of delivery centers that a futures contract can have are by definition limited, because you will not have a proper price discovery if there are too many delivery centers. So it is necessary that we introduce exchange traded forward, and which experiment was carried out a few 2-3 years ago. Fortunately, I was involved in that experiment, and that can expand the number of delivery centers. And I think Mr. Mundawala mentioned this, that why not make the entire country a delivery center for lots of commodities, which will help farmers. Secondly, we have had WDRA regulation, we have had ENWRs, but which have not really been used very widely outside of the exchange. And as far as I know, mainly CWC and some state warehouses are only using it outside of the exchange. And I think there whatever are the difficulties for people or warehouse service providers to use ENWRs, that needs to be reduced, because a lot of friction in the delivery process and the corresponding risks could be reduced if ENWRs can be traded not not only in future segment but also in forward segment as well as the spot segment. So you will have a fungibility of ENWR trading across different platforms and across different needs. And of course, one of the most important thing, and which has been recently introduced, is options on goods. So, which is earlier, the options were devolving on the underlying futures contract, and there were difficulties for farmers and FPOs to participate in those contracts for mark to market, and then broker commissions and all those kinds of issues, limited delivery centers, etc. Other thing, options on goods also can have a large number of delivery centers coinciding with the forward delivery centers. So they need not be restricted to future delivery centers. I think some of these things, if they can be introduced, can transform the market substantially. Even today, people are worried whether, even if the new bills have come, whether the liquidity will move out of APMCs or not. Because today a farmer has that assurance. If he takes his material to the APMC, he may not get the best possible price, but he has assured liquidity there. Now, until the time he gets, a FPO or a farmer gets that assurance of liquidity, the digital markets will not, fly off. And in order to do that, some of these measures are important, which I just described.
Thank you, Mr. Shabade. We are fortunate to have with us Mr. Aliasgar Mitwani. Mr. Mitwani has had a long association with the derivatives market, both in the FMC and now, of course, the really pointsman in SEBI. And there are a lot of issues which have come up, Mr. Mitwani, by the speakers that have come. We also know that the SEBI has taken itself a role of a development regulator rather than just regulating markets. So what are the kind of initiatives that SEBI has taken? What is the sandbox about, if you could inform us? Plus, what is your view on how these markets in the physical space can get linked? One suggestion which was made in the initial presentation was to have a common clearing house, a common clearing and settlement house, which could cut across multiple development e-market platforms. Whether SEBI would be the right place, whether it should be another organization which should look at it, and your response to the issues raised by farmer groups like Mr. Hegde. So over to you, Mr. Mitwani.
Thank you so very much. I'm very glad that I've been invited to be part of this panel, and really speaking, I enjoyed listening to the ground. So to start with, I will just run through what we have done in the regarding the sandbox. SEBI has always been a regulator, which it is there in our vision and it is there in our preamble that we are supposed to develop the market also over and above the investor protection and enforcement. So this market has been accepting technology very fast. If you go back to 1994, so people who are sitting in the audience, they would be knowing we were in open outcry system. So when technology came through NSE, and within short span of time, we were having terminals all around India. People were trading to terminal. People who were used to system of using their hands and fingers to trade, they started using their fingers on the keyboard. As time passed, we came with dematerialization, and people know that we achieved this dematerialization almost 99.9% within a year or so. Whereas, in US still dematerialization is not 100%. Apart from that, in 2000, when the internet boom came, we were with internet trading was allowed, mobile trading is allowed. So if you see, SEBI has always been in fact motivating people and that they should come out with some technology which will be useful for the market. And technology helps us, not us, I mean to say the full economy. There is a rationalization of cost is there, benefit to everybody, all types of stakeholders. In fact, just to share with you, we are so much into technology that in our office also, where we are a regulator, and we have got new people who join us, and they are tech-minded people. So we have been using AI and ML, artificial intelligence and machine learnings, to develop ways and means how we can do our work in much better way. So we are very happy to take this ahead in the market also. And in this regard, we have various committees. SEBI works with the help of committees who we get experts, professionals who deliberate and who give solution, and finally the SEBI board takes a decision. Regarding the sandbox, we had a committee under the chairmanship of Shri TV Mohandas Pai. He does not require any introduction. So this committee was Committee on Financial and Regulatory Technologies. And this committee was formed in around 2017. And after that, it gave a recommendation. The recommendations were taken for public comments. And finally, in 2019, that was way back May 2019, almost 1.5 years back, we came out with Innovation Sandbox. And in June, that is 2020, we came out with Regulatory Sandbox. So now, as on date, we have 2 sandbox where we want people should come, and especially tech firm, fintech firm, they should come, work with us, and get some solution which is helpful not for everybody. It is useful for everybody, farmers, from the first stakeholder to the last stakeholder. Everybody should get benefit from this. So in Innovation Sandbox, which we came in 2019, it's almost 1.5 years now, what we wanted that we wanted fintech firms, entities, individuals who are not regulated by SEBI. Anybody in the world can come up, and if they have some idea, they want an environment, they want to test the idea. So we allowed them that you can test. We'll give you the data. We share all the data which is not available in public, but it will be offline testing. It will not be a live market. So it will be an offline testing. We give you data, and in data, we will be giving you all the historical data. We cannot give you yesterday's data, but it will be all historical data, anonymized data, where you will have your depository data, what are the holdings in the shares, commodities, everything. Whatever data you want, we will be able to give you. You work on it and get some solution. So this we started 1.5 years back. Then we found there's another area which needs to work, and the committee had also recommended it. That was Regulatory Sandbox, where we wanted our regulated entities to come bring up solution. So what we said to them, you come up with solution, you get in touch, you tie up with some fintech company, get some solution, you want to test it, we are ready to give you. So we started this, this happened in June 2020, and it was almost in the time of a lockdown. So we have to see the traction in that. But here what we said, we'll give you live environment. That was the interesting thing. What we did was, we'll give you a live environment, data will be given, and you can test your solution on real customers. For that, we will require some exemption. So our board has taken a very important decision. They said, we are ready to give exemption, and we got an amendment to 34 regulation of SEBI. It's not one regulation, across the regulation. Our regulation are activity based. Like you have a regulation for the mutual fund, you have a regulation for investment advisor, you have a regulation for stockbroker. So it is activity based regulation. So the question arose was that I want to give a solution across the activities. So what to do? I'm only a broker, or I'm only an investment advisor, but I want to give a solution which is applicable to everybody. So we said, no issues. We'll give you limited membership in all the across the regulation, and you start working. We'll give you the data. We'll give you live environment. We'll give you exemption. But the thing, you come out with your policies, with your solution, test it. We gave an upper limit of 12 months. It should not happen that, something which is unlimited, or you cannot call it a perpetual thing. So we said, we'll give you 12 months. And there was some condition, definitely, you need to have some confidentiality condition, IPR condition. Only on two areas we said that we will not compromise. One was KYC and the other was AML, which is very important thing, that is anti-money laundering rules. Apart from that, SEBI was very open, that is open, not was open, is open now also, that you come up, we'll test it. So this was a basic, a small description what we are doing. And but very sorry to say, but in commodity market in last 1.5 year, we have not received any application where if somebody wants to test something. But I'm not pessimistic. I'm very hopeful after the 3 important legislation which government has already legislated, and a forum like this. I'm very sure people will come up with solutions, and I'm very sure we'll be very successful. Only thing is that we need a push from our side, from SEBI side. We are open. Yeah, I'm saying in a public forum we are open. There will be some restriction, no doubt about it. But where we need to work, and we need to go up to the last level, last stakeholder, where the benefit can flow. So this was about a sandbox thing, and I'm very sure after this seminar, and I was talking to Mr. Samir the other day, he was saying that they are very much motivated. Something should come out from this seminar. And when I was talking, he was inviting me to speak on this panel. So I said, would love to speak, because if something is practical is coming, it should not be a theoretical thing where people come speak, which I also speak many times. We speak and we go, but if there is something which practical thing is there, it would be very interesting. Now, so I'll not take more than 5 minutes. Coming to some of the points raised by our panelists, a very interesting thing was, one of them was having a common clearing platform. Very interesting thing. I will just give you what is a factual thing, and then you can extrapolate many things from that. At the time when FMC was merged with SEBI, that was in 2015, government had appointed an expert group where SEBI was there, different professional academicians were there, and they were asked to give suggestions how the derivatives market, spot market can be done. So one of the suggestion was that there should be integration of spot market with the derivatives market. So this suggestion is already there on the table. Now the question arises when the time will mature. That has to be seen. And another thing would be who will overlook them. I would put another way: whom does the government give this authority to? Whoever may be, any regulator, whoever may be, that integration is on the table. This will happen, and it has to happen. See, if you have a vibrant spot market, your derivative market will improve. Otherwise, many of my audience would be knowing our derivative markets are moving. Snail pace, they are moving. I'm not saying it's not moving, it's very snail pace. And somebody pointed out also that, real beneficiary, the farmers are not the real beneficiary in this market. Yes, definitely. That is fact. That is fact. It's not nothing to hide about it. But if you have a very vibrant spot market where you have the e-platforms, e-markets coming up, and you have NEML, and Mr. Ravindran, he's aware. A few days back we were discussing one program, which very soon we will be working out, and the market will come to know, where we want to work together and showcase something for the government and for the markets and for the farmers. Hopefully we will come out with that program very soon on that. I will not go into that. The second suggestion was a good suggestion, was about forward platform. I know in 2015 when SEBI took over the responsibility of regulation of commodities derivative market, forward segment was banned. Very recently, a month, not more than a month, we have already started working and talking about this thing. We have a committee, which is a CDAC, which we call Commodities Derivatives Advisory Committee. We have already taken up this matter with them, and it's under discussion. I do not know what would be the final thing and what SEBI view would be, but it is already on the table. So that was the second point. Third point was very interesting point by Mr. Shashank, was we need more crops to be added on the exchange. I agree. Before this legislation came into play, we had a problem with that Essential Commodities Act, where lots of commodities were under the Essential Act, and there were issues in that. hopefully that those issues have been taken care. So definitely we'll have more crops on that. Delivery center at farm gate, Mr. Shashank, is a very good thing which we can, I have noted down, will be definitely taken up at appropriate level. There was one, Mr. Ravindra had sent that option on goods. Yeah, he explained very well. This is an insurance product where I think farmers can, take benefit. Futures, there were problem in the sense in futures, there were margins, initial margins, extreme loss margins, so many margins. Our farmers are not ready for that. In fact, it's a very cash incentive option, which is futures segment. Recently, we came out with a government notified in the month of about 6 months back, almost 6 months back, option on goods, wherein a farmer can buy or an FPO can buy a put option. A put option is an option where a farmer can sell. He buys a put option, means he can sell at a specified rate after 2 months, 3 months, whatever the contract would be. And if on that day, if the prices in the market are higher than the strike price, he need not do anything. This option will go waste. Nothing will happen. His loss will be only that the premium. He can sell in the market, make money. But when the harvest comes, the prices, demand supply theory comes into play, and the prices go down. At that time, if he finds the market are very low, spot market, but derivatives, he has already taken a strike at a higher rate, he can exercise the option, bring his goods to the exchange and sell it. This is a good product. It's like an insurance. He has taken an insurance for a premium where there are no margins, nothing. He takes the insurance, sits quiet, and he can decide what has to do. If he feels he does not want to wait up to 3 months, he can just sell on the option, close off the option, and sell it in the spot market. Government has also been working on this option thing, and government, the suggestion was that SEBI should work on this, and we are very seriously working on this, and hopefully to see some traction in this field very soon. So I think, sir, I have covered most of the thing. Very sorry, took some more time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vidwani. I think for all of us, especially to many people who have had limited exposure to SEBI, they would know that SEBI, as far as the agriculture market is concerned, is seeing itself as a development organization. It is looking at innovation. It's looking at the opportunities that technology can bring in. And I would also urge on behalf of SEBI to access the sandbox. If there is a write-up, Mr. Mitwani, that we can share with all the participants, that would be of use. And I think it is not so much the financial support that SEBI will give, but just the fact that SEBI would have done your KYC, endorsed your product itself would give a lot of comfort and credibility to your innovation and product. So I urge all the market participants to take advantage of the sandbox. I now turn to Anupam. Anupam, are you there? Anupam,
yes, sir, very much.
You also have a digital marketplace, the marketyard.com. Plus, you are a logistics player. And one issue which was raised in the context of the farm bills was, if I have to deliver at a distance away, what do I do? I am aware that NCML is looking at entering the area of logistics as well. What are your also suggestions on the concept of a common clearing platform? You've had exposure to the exchange as well in your earlier avatar in NCDEX. So we'd love to hear what you have to say on these issues. Anupam.
Thank you, Mr. Kaul. It is a privilege to be part of this panel discussion. I would raise a few questions, a bit uncomfortable, but we need to seek answers before we start charting our path for the success of these reforms. The first thing is the economic order quantity. If we have to include farmers, and that cannot come from farmers individually, there has to be an organized mechanism like FPOs or FPCs, or the most important aspect is the sell to produce. India has been for ages was produce and sell, whereas the developed markets where the agriculture is commerce and not subsistence, which India has been treating agriculture as subsistence, and it's only now we are moving towards commerce and managing surpluses rather than managing shortages. So in that scenario, we need to create a situation where farmers can produce, sell and produce. And there's already a mechanism which we all know as MSP. MSP is a sell and produce, and that selling contract is between farmer and the government. Because when government announces an MSP, there is a tacit put option which government delivers to farmer at zero cost, at a zero premium value. It is a different issue that due to structural issues, that put options is not encashable by farmers across the length and breadth of the geography. There are only few commodities where this put option, zero cost put option is exercisable by farmers. When we talk about connecting produce from producing areas to consuming areas, the economic order quantity can be addressed when the farmers can be facilitated. Obviously, it would require a huge amount of investments and organized intervention, where farmers sell first and produce later. And there's one of the laws which is part of this these bold reforms is the contract farming. And I'm sure that a lot of people are looking at it, where they can offer the sell and produce dynamics to farmers, and can address a large amount of this policy. I mean, all this market access we are looking at today or discussing about is farmer is grappling to find the right value. And we believe that the market access is a solution to that. It is, but to a very, very minimal extent, because if the idea is to give assured returns to farmer, there has to be a policy mechanism contributed by one and all, including policymakers, corporates, the think tanks, people like us who are working in various segments, where these kind of things can become the norm rather than exception. Today, the contract farming things are very limited instances of success to talk about. So if there is an institutional mechanism to address that, everything will fall in line. But I think that it will take some time. And in between, we will keep on grappling for getting some optimality to a rather suboptimal situation where people are producing in a very, very fragmented, small land sizes. 84% of the Indian farmers are small and marginal. And this reform is only in kind of nudging people to get into that space, which was already always there. It's not that in 2018-19 numbers, the total mandi fee collection in 33 geographies, 28 states and 5 union territories was around 11,700 crores, out of which 5,200 crores was given by FCI, CCI and NAFED. So close to given by central agencies to the state mandi governing mechanisms. And a very only 6,000 crore rupees was, one can say, came from the private participants. So it's very clear that a large amount of agriculture commodities are already being sold outside the APMC jurisdiction, because that is very, very evident in the mandi fee collections which we do annually. Haryana, Punjab, 4,400 crores of mandi fee collection, of which 4,000 crore came from the central agencies. So the point here is that today the only reform that only aspect of this reform of the other than APMC outside APMC thing is that people can continue to buy what they've been doing, and they don't need to pay, or rather there is no obligation for them to pay. So organized guys will come in, and merely market access, though it will certainly complement to some extent, but it has to, I would say that the need is to create a sell and produce mechanism between consumers and producers. Then only the farmers can expect to get something meaningful of their out of their enterprise. Coming to the logistics and all these market platforms, presently they are, in my opinion, most of the platforms are operating at the warehouse level. Very limited platforms have reached out. The only exception is REMS component of NEML. And we have tried some with FCI. But by and large, the participation of these platforms has been limited to warehouse. The extension of these platforms to farmers is going to be a big challenge, because if the bulk of the commodities are being sold at the farm gate by the farmer, because the surpluses are marginal, the marketable surpluses that he's selling, he doesn't even have an incentive to bring it to a formal mandi place, what to talk about a market access platform. So there has to be a mechanism and massive investment which needs to go to the farm gate, where these marginal surpluses are aggregated at the farm gate level, and then those investments will take care of directing those surpluses to the producer. The technology is very much there, whether it is the aggregation of transportation or quality assessing, all those are very, very, I would say, insignificant components of the problem. The bulk of the problem is that how do you convince the farmer to create an economic order quantity pooling infra at the farm gate. So my sense is that we are trying to address problem of which is a very small component, and the larger component, I think, as the money start flowing into the agriculture system, hopefully this sell and produce dynamic will take root in the Indian ecosystem. I think we are coming close to the end of the, I think we had 1 hour limitation, and we are reaching there. So my sense is that market access is important, but it is going to address a very limited, a very minuscule portion of the problem statement, that how do we enhance the realization of farmer and contribute to doubling the farmer income or whatever objectives that we carry. That's a very minuscule, market access is a very minuscule component of that. The problem statement can be helped if we look at the entire production consumption pipeline and try to change the order of that from produce and sell to sell and produce.
So thank you, Anupam. You've raised a very fundamental issue of what the farmer should be doing and how he can access knowledge about the market. And one set of issues that arise in this context is the quality of the production which is required by the market. And we have with us a market enabler which is trying to address the issue of using technology to assess testing and grades. I'm very happy that we have with us Saurabh Kumar. Saurabh, are you there with us?
Yes, sir.
He is a co-founder of Agrex Lab, and they are trying to use technology for testing and assaying. When you introduce yourself, please also tell us the larger issue which is being raised by many of us, and how you feel that testing and grading issues could be standardized across the country, so that farmers across can understand what is a good grade, and if there are different grades and standards, how can there be a common language which is understood by all the participants. So over to you, sir.
Sure, sir. Thank you. So just as a brief introduction, I understand that it's already, we are like 75 minutes in our this, so I'll keep it short. So Agrex is an AI company with a primarily core focus on agriculture. And at Agrex, we have developed a software solution that converts a simple smartphone into an advanced quality inspection tool. The same algorithms that we have used for on a smartphone can be also put on any particular hardware to convert into a smart grading machine as well. So apart from that, we are also developing a miniature spectrometer and hyperspectral hypercube, which can see internal defects as well without destroying whether it is a fruit or vegetable or any other commodity. So that's a very short what Agrex does and what Agrex is planning to do. Coming back to the topic of what we are discussing today. So Tarun actually pointed out a very key problem in terms of that FPOs and farmers are exactly not aware that what is the quality that, say for example, if they have to sell it to PepsiCo, where they are going to make a chips of that particular potato, that would be a different requirement standards that a PepsiCo would ask for versus if it is being sold in a normal table potato, which will go into a normal regular home. So standards are different, and as an FPO or as a farmer, वी डोंट अंडरस्टैंड, हमें नहीं समझ में आती है कि ये हमारे पास जो प्रोड्यूस है एक स्टैंडर्ड ग्रेड तो समझ में आ गया, लेकिन क्या वो पेप्सिको लेगी या फिर टेबल पोटैटो वाले लेंगे? कौन से ऐसे बायर होंगे जो मुझे उस चीज का बेस्ट पॉसिबल पैसे दे सके? अगर हमें क्वालिटी समझ नहीं है तो हमारे लिए सबसे ज्यादा जरूरी चीज ये है कि क्वालिटी डेमोक्रेटाइजेशन जो है वो होना बहुत जरूरी है। एज इन, इसका मतलब ये हुआ दैट एवरीबडी हैज टू हैव एन एबिलिटी टू measure the quality in a same way across spectrum, चाहे वो इंडिया में हो चाहे वो बाहर हो, हर जगह एक तरीके से वो देख रहे हैं। So one parameter in terms of standardization, संजय सर ने जैसे बोला कि standardization in terms of that what is that we are saying is a base quality matrix. अगर that is something which is defined, that हमारा whether I am in Kerala or I am in JNK, wherever I am, the quality of an apple is exactly this, A, B, and C, is defined by 6 or 7 parameters and tools provided, so that the tools that exist, जैसे हमारे पास है, हमारे साथ तरह और भी बहुत लोग हैं जिनके पास हो सकती हैं, they'll be able to configure that feature so that कि आप कहीं पे भी बैठे हो, आप फार्मर हैं, आपने एक सिंपल सी स्मार्टफोन से फोटो ली, या फिर अगर आपके पास स्मार्ट ग्रेडिंग मशीन है तो आपने उस पर वो सेट करी और आपकी everything comes out in a same way. Now imagine that irrespective, कहीं पे आगरा में हम बोल रहे हैं कि 45 mm वाली आलू जो है वो बड़ी आलू है, शायद दूसरे जगह हम बोल रहे हैं 35 mm से ऊपर वाली आलू बड़ी आलू है. That's not gonna be the situation. Now buyers from every corner would be looking at the same specifications. Thus, when I'm saying मैं 45 mm से ऊपर की आलू खरीद रहा हूँ, that is what I'll be buying in that scenario. Now, that's not the only case. Now, in terms of quality, जब आप marketplace पे sell कर रहे हैं या फिर there are buyers which might be a regular trade buyers, there might be a processors. So if we look at it, roughly half of our production actually goes into processing. Whether paddy goes into a rice processing, pulses are processed, or even fruit and vegetables also. Now, in that scenario, there is a different specification that different vendors may have. Now, I'll give again an example of a potato. Suppose मेरे पास low grade potato है, which is not something which is effectively gonna be sold at a good value. Now, if I sell it based on just a plain specification, what will happen कि वो उसकी price मुझे कभी अच्छी नहीं मिलेगी. Now, if I have that democratization and democratized information where I can have those additional features, suppose करें कि उसी आलू में starch की, that is dry matter की quantity ज़्यादा है, irrespective वो छोटा है या खराब है, उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. But अगर starch की quantity ज़्यादा है, there are people, starch manufacturers would give you more money for that. So that is about an ability not only to assess quality based on the parameters that are defined by the regulators or based on which everyone talks of the same language, but when it comes to a specialized, I would say specialized features which prompts other buyers to buy, advanced buyers to buy even different kind of a produce, would help this ecosystem a lot. Even an FPO would be able to buy it in a much better way because they would understand कि ये हमारी requirement है, यहाँ पे हम sell कर रहे हैं या इस तरह के buyers को sell कर रहे हैं, तो हमने क्या-क्या quality features की produce जो है हमारे पास लेके आनी है और किसके पास भेजनी है. So I'll keeping it short. That is what I had to share. The only request that I had was that standardization and additional feature is something which is very important aspect in this case. And cross country, we have to have a similar language, similar way to assess quality, and not be there means in regional or any other methodology that exists today.
So thank you, Saurabh. I think one issues which Saurabh has talked about, Anupam and several others, Venkat, I am coming to you, is information and data. And data not only on the back end, but also the front end. So what are the requirements of buyers and what is the kind of sourcing that a producer is doing right from the time when he sows the crop. Is he using pesticide? Is it really an organic produce? Is he actually getting himself ready for the market? And on the front end, of course, is the market available for that? So I think the initiative that SourceStore has taken in focusing on data and sourcing information is very critical to development of this marketplace. And I'll now turn to, therefore, Venkat Maroju, co-founder of SourceTrade, to give us his views on how we can have this kind of market enabler widen these technology markets. Venkat.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. And I know we are almost on the hour, top of the hour. I think I'll take only a few minutes to just wrap up this conversation, and I'm very happy to be part of this. So SourceTrade basically introduction is we work on data-driven agriculture. When I say agriculture, it is not just on the farm and the farmer and the crop. It is we always approached agriculture as a end-to-end value chain. Okay, and one of the important aspects of SourceTrade is we are deeply rooted in social purpose. So we care a lot about impact while we are a for-profit company. So in that sense, in agriculture, basically one of the, if you look at, we are a global player, and we basically reaching out to about more than 1.2 million people in 29 countries. And we do have a very good presence in India, and we support, more than 350 crops in our portfolio, and about 3 million hectares of land under management. So with that footprint, some of the challenges, one of the agriculture is one of the least digitized sector if you look at it as a whole. But one of the things that is happening in the last few years is, I mean, this everybody now can just to become part of their life, has a profound impact. This mobile technology with ubiquitous connectivity and the smartphone has really enabled to take this digital power to the remotest areas where agriculture is carried out. So that is actually helping transform helping digitization of agriculture at a very rapid pace, which is a good thing. But there are a lot of challenges. I mean, so the end-to-end value chain, whether we like it or not, agriculture and commodities, these crops have become a global value chains. And there is so many players touch the produce, right from the growing the crop to harvesting to processing to market and transport and logistic players. So there is a severe lack of communication and trust in between these players. So the information technology and the data could be very, very vital in order to build that trust and build the efficiency in the marketplace. And ultimately, overall the value chain we need to make efficient. I think you all are experts in the market, and day to day you're dealing with different commodities. And one of the challenges we have is, I mean, the smallholder farmer, there are about 450 to 500 million smallholder farmers in the world. And in India, we have, more than about 150,000, I mean, like a million smallholder farmers. And these farmers are on an average holding 2 hectares and illiterate to semi-literate, okay? So how do you basically bring this sophisticated digitization technologies to this type of environment, right? So one of the very, very important aspect is there is neither, you need to overcome, there's neither sophistication nor the scale. In order to create sophistication and the scale, you need to have some intermediate bodies, okay? I think some of you have been holding, like Shashank was saying, you need to handhold. I mean, that is the right way to approach this. Otherwise, you cannot have impact. Only probably you can make an impact at a very high level, a small segment of high-end farmers. But majority of the farmers are holding very small land and very unsophisticated, not in a literal sense, but in general, to be able to leverage these technologies. So in this context, so there's a lot need to be happening in aggregating bodies. Okay, one of the things, if they can happen through cooperatives, FPOs, it's really good. But the status of cooperatives, I mean, I've been working in this field at least 10 years in one way or the other. For namesake, we have, I don't know, if you go and look at any website anywhere, you have at least 5 to, I don't know, 9,000 FPOs and FPCs and cooperatives of different state registered and all that. But not even 10% of them are commercially viable. Okay, this is a big problem. Including NABARD supported, FSA, SFAC. I mean, we have been through all of them. And then I think there's a new initiative about 10,000 FPOs from the government. I think the challenges there is there's a very little financing available for these FPOs, okay? Which is, I do not know, the market players, the private sector, as well as the government need to come together and, build some mechanisms how you can fund these FPOs. That's the only way they could be brought up to commercial grade FPOs. That's one very, very, very disheartening and failed proposition. Government after government comes and start nuking, but there is a pretty bad record of these FPOs moving into a commercial grade. So that's one important thing. And then to be able to, with these new laws, I think there is opportunity. While there are issues in some parts of the states, but overall, I support these type of reforms where I think the more market players come into play, more freedom for the farmers, and more liberty to build some efficiencies in the market. And ultimately, I think that should impact the farmer better. And regarding the solutions that we build, basically, we are starting with the farmer profiling to the crop profiling, all the processes for growing package of practices, to inputs, to procurement, to various kinds of certifications we support. And while that's about pre-farm gate, and once you have harvest, we basically move the produce through the logistics, harvesting, quality, to processing, and all the way to retail and the consumer level. And throughout this, we are able to bring the transparency and traceability right from the consumer level, retail level, to all the processes that went through to the farm. I mean, not everybody needs this type of information, but when you have a premium market that you want to access, when you want to.
So thank you, Venkat. We are running out of time, and before we conclude.
Yes. So basically, yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. The one thing is the digitization and the data is critical, and strengthening these aggregating units is another important factor in order to make a positive impact on the farmers and agriculture. Yeah.
Thank you, Venkat. So before we conclude, we are running out of time, but I still think seek the indulgence of the audience and the organizers to have one short comment from each of the panelists, just one sentence of what you think the next step or your wish list or a practical suggestion going forward. And can I start with Semi, because he's the MyBap for all of us. So Mr. Mitwani, what are your expectations from market players like us?
मुझे मेरे से आवाज बीच में आपका आवाज जो कह रहा था तो मुझे सर और सवाल कुछ थे मेरे.
Sorry, I'm Mitwani. Can you?
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yeah. The thing I would just echo the point which you had echoed when I completed my remarks, was that I would request market players to bring up new ideas And we are very much into agriculture, and we are promoting agricultural derivatives. So my one wish list would be like people come up with new solution, the way of interlinking market.
Thank you. Amit, any practical suggestions of what we should do together as a next step?
There is a lot of contingencies being developed to operate in the market, which has such a wide geography. So consistency in the government policies, like abhi the whole across the market was excited about farm bills and all, and then suddenly so there is the impact of TDS and TCS, so which has ruined everything. So now when you are saying ki offline transaction there is nothing to pay, and online you have to pay 1% TDS, it's finished. So then at one point we are saying ki no, we are enabling digital, so it should be online, and then there is a free flow. And later on, when you wake up in the morning, you get to know from 1st of October, the buyers need to pay 1% TDS, and that only to via online platform, e-commerce only. So then where is the consistency? So you are investing huge, and if government will, do these sort of variables, so I don't know where we are going.
Thank you. ज्ञानेश्वर जी, एक सुझाव जो आप सरकार से या मार्केट पार्टिसिपेंट से चाहते हैं, अनम्यूट कीजिए, अनम्यूट वहां से नहीं होगा, आपके कंप्यूटर से होगा। हाँ, बोलिए।
सर मेरा तो सर एक साइड से मैंने आपको बताया था कि मेरे पास, लेकिन और भी चैलेंजेस बहुत सारे हैं सर, खास करके जैसे अभी मेरे पास 350 किसान है, लेकिन आगे चल के बहुत सारे एफपीओ को हमारे साथ जुड़ना चाहते हैं, लेकिन जुड़ने के साथ बहुत सारी दिक्कतें जाती है। एक तो हमारे पास ऐसी कोई टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं है कि उनको हम ऐसा कुछ मैसेज भेज सके या कुछ उनका डाटा कलेक्शन कर सके, या फिर उनके पास कितना क्या है वो हमको एफपीओ को मालूम देना चाहिए। फिर आगे चल के हम कुछ बायर को एक साथ उनको बता सकते हैं हमारे पास ऐसी कम्युनिटी है। छोटा सा हमने काम करके देखा था, अभी हमने 350 किसान जो है दौरा टेस्ट करके इनको से हमने कुछ दिया था, उससे हमको फायदा भी मिला। एक तो क्या है, जैसे हमने एक प्रैक्टिकल करके ताड़पत्री का हमको सीजन मिला था अभी, जो कि ताड़पत्री थर्मल सोयाबीन चखने के लिए, तो हमने वहाँ पे एक रिक्वायरमेंट दी थी, तो बहुत सारे लोगों के ये भी हमको ये आ रहा है कि ऐसे रेट। तो एक तो है ये भी है, और दूसरा बात है सर कि जैसे कि हमारे किसान जो है उनके पास क्या क्या क्वांटिटी में है और क्या क्या उनकी क्या प्राइस है वो डालें, तो ऐसा कुछ ज्ञान वगैरह या कोई ऐसे वेबसाइट हमको उसका सपोर्ट मिले, तो ये हमारा सुझाव है। दूसरी बात सर है कि हमको कुछ फाइनेंस का भी थोड़ा बहुत प्रॉब्लम जाता है कि जो सभासद जो है हमारे शेयर होल्डर है वो तो हमको इजी नहीं देते, लेकिन बहुत सारे जो बाहर के किसान है तो हम जोड़ना चाहते हैं, लेकिन वो थोड़ा विश्वास नहीं करते, तो हमारे पास फाइनेंस की भी जरूरत होती है, तो उसके लिए कुछ सपोर्ट मिले। और सर कुछ जैसा कि वेयरहाउसिंग है, कुछ ये है, इसके लिए कुछ अलग से कुछ हो जाए तो इसके सपोर्ट मिले, तो सर एफपीओ जो है वो आगे चलकर बहुत अच्छा काम कर सकते हैं।
Thank you, धन्यवाद ज्ञानेश्वर जी। शशांक, what is the DeHaat agenda, one agenda that you have in mind going forward?
Sir, bundling, integration, digitization, collaboration, and lastly,
ये तो 4 चीजें कह दी। If you have to stick to one agenda, one focus.
Being positive, sir, things will change.
Okay.
लगे रहना है।
Ravi.
Yeah. So I think in the new bills, the dispute resolution mechanism is not very efficient. And for digital marketplaces to be promoted, we need a good regulatory framework, which must include an efficient, practical dispute resolution mechanism.
Thank you. Anupam, you, of course, gave a little gloomy picture about the development and the existing situation. Now put yourself on the other side and tell me what can make things different. One suggestion.
Agriculture Council of India. One phrase, Agriculture Council of India. Center and state governments working together.
Okay, thank you. I think that is a wish list for all of us. As a market enabler, on the testing and certification side, what do you think the government can do to standardize produce and make sure that all of us speak the same language?
So again, I'll come back to what Amit stated, or say the same thing. It is consistency in terms of the measurements and standards that has to be defined across all the states.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Venkat, last thoughts?
Yeah, I think two things. Political conviction for all these bills, and that is something probably we cannot do anything here. But the second important thing I would say is the capital inflow into agriculture is there's still a huge gap in accessing working capital and credit and other things. I think that could help a lot too.
So I think that is a very critical issue, and access to credit is something which will be part of a detailed seminar in the next coming week. Raman, would you like to say something? You've sat through very patiently and listened to all of us. And so would you like to summarize or conclude and tell us what the plans are for both ThinkAg as well as Dwara Trust going forward?
Sure, Sanjay. I think it's going to be very tough to summarize. The richness of the conversation has been phenomenal. आप लोगों ने जो भी मुद्दे उठाए और जो भी प्रस्ताव रखे हैं उस पे सबों ने अपने विचार प्रकट करे हैं, और आई थिंक ये बहुत ही बढ़िया वार्तालाप है, एक बहुत ही बढ़िया गोष्ठी है, और इसको हम आगे जरूर बढ़ाएंगे. Lot of people have asked in the Q&A and chat box about getting hold of the video recordings, the presentation. Just want to let you know that these are hosted on Dwara Trust and ThinkAg websites and social media. The first one that took place a month ago is already there. The one for today's dialogue will be up in the next few days. So please look out. And all of those who have registered for this dialogue will obviously get an email alert on that. So you will not miss out even if you've joined late or you had to step out in the middle. I just want to thank the panelists and also the attendees for this engaging conversation. I think this is really the key purpose of having these dialogues. That's why ThinkAg decided to create a not-for-profit collaborative platform where we can actually discuss without any threat of competition or stepping on each other's toes. It is in professionalism, it is in respect, and at the end of the day, it is in hastening the journey to make our agri-business economy do better, especially the farmers. So, and thanks to you, Sanjay, for really moderating it and holding it together. It's very, very difficult to hold a panel of 7-8 people. I think you obviously coached everybody yesterday, but I think you picked up all the key thoughts and kind of built it on. And as Sanjay said in his concluding remarks, we will have another component of this access to commodity markets. We will focus on finance in the next 2-3 weeks. So you'll be hearing from us shortly as to when that will be scheduled. Again, the conversation will be intense, and we hope to come back at the end of the second one with a rich set of interventions that Mr. Mithwani will be proud of for spending his time with us, and obviously his supervisor as well. We will so the way it is laid out is we will have access to finance. This is what Venkat also talked about, making finance available for people, especially FPOs. So we will have a conversation on finance in the next 2-3 weeks, and we'll club these two and reach out to you people to see what are the tangible ideas that we can take to SEBI to actually pilot on the regulator sandbox. And that will become the part of the conversation on the third and final part of this dialogue on post-harvest markets. So really taken a lot of your time. We went 10 minutes over schedule. Thanks again for all your patience. We've not answered a lot of the questions. We hope to reach out to all of you in due course of time. And thank you again. Can keep in touch in between as well. We love to hear from all of you. Thank you and have a good evening, and stay safe and keep well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.